And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Starting the first day of the new year off with flying weather here, we've got IFR out over the central Bering Sea extending down toward the eastern Aleutians. And good VFR here in the interior with spotty IFR there, Kodiak Island into Kamishak Bay. Maybe some marginal VFR in over the southern Kenai Peninsula. Otherwise, VFR all the way down to Dixon Entrance. And then for Wednesday afternoon, IFR pulling westward, so increasing VFR for the eastern Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast area. Still some areas of marginal VFR possible on the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula, and still some IFR possible, Kodiak Island. Otherwise good in the interior here, nothing but VFR. Marginal VFR for the Alaska Peninsula, much of the Aleutians, and a good portion of the Bering Sea south of St. Matthew Island. And then for the day on Thursday, we've got IFR here over the northern Bering Sea, almost to St. Matthew Island. Otherwise, the remainder of the area out there are pretty marginal down to the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, again into Kodiak Island, marginal VFR. Interior, good VFR. All the way up to the Arctic coast, and for the southeast coast, VFR. And for the afternoon, maybe a little bit of marginal VFR possibly showing up there on the south coast of Prince of Wales Island there. Otherwise, it remains VFR. Good VFR, the North Gulf Coast, all the way to the Arctic coast once again, and back to the west until you get to Nunivak Island, and a little bit of IFR there, but VFR, St. Lawrence Island. And marginal VFR holds over Kamishak Bay, Kodiak Island. Then a bigger area of IFR there, mostly from Adak westward to Shimianatu and areas to the south. For passes, Brooks Range and Atuvikanatigan, VFR for New Year's Day through both passes. In fact, all the passes here are VFR in the Alaska Range, Lake Clark, Merrill, rainy, windy, open for Isabel and Mentasta, as well as Tanita. And for Portage, same thing, good VFR there, as well as for Chilkoot and White. Freezing levels here, not much to look at, 2,000 feet here along the southwest coast area, and mostly in the Gulf of Alaska, although extending over the east side of Kodiak Island. So moving on from there to the icing graphic, and you can see not a lot to look at here either. Maybe some possible light, isolated, moderate icing, southern Kenai Peninsula and Kodiak Island, as well as the Unalaska Island area and the Alaska Peninsula. So moving on to the jet stream here, all the winds out to the west, mostly from the southwest here, 75 to 85 knots out there. Turning northwest here at about 70 to 80 knots there, coming down across Adak and Atka. Pretty light jet stream level here, 33,000 feet over interior Alaska, the Gulf, into the Panhandle. And for 9,000 feet, windier conditions this elevation for Kodiak Island with those winds at 45 knots there. Otherwise, east to southeast, 35 to 40 knots. Southern southeast Bering Sea to the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutian areas. Stronger winds with a storm staying south of the western Aleutians there, but high pressure up to the north here, keeping winds light and variable. Easterly, but not all that strong over the northern southeast coast. Could be channeled areas of 35 knot winds at 3,000 feet from the northern Panhandle. Otherwise, easterlies up to 50 knots there from the Barren Islands across northern Bristol Bay, southern Kuskokwim Valley area. Also up there over the western Arctic coast, east 45 knots for the eastern Aleutians. And taking a look at turbulence. We'll start off looking at mechanical moderate turbulence here for areas of the southeast coast. Moderate turbulence also in the forecast for the western Brooks Range, Point Lay on down to Cape Lisburne and Point Hope. And here a pretty good chance of it being a little on the bumpy side there for northern Kodiak Island up into southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay area to the Aleutian Range, as well as the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians.